My name is Ava Grayson. I'm 32 years old, and for most of my life, I've been the shadow of my perfect family. Growing up in Hawaii with parents who thrived in the business world, I always felt like an outsider. My younger sister, Clara, was always the one in the spotlight. Academically gifted, socially charming, the golden child. Me, I was the one who worked harder, achieved more, but was always brushed aside, always second best. The more I poured into my career as an architect, the further I seemed to drift from the family I once adored. This evening, I sit here alone in my high-rise apartment, knowing that I was deliberately excluded from my parents' 30th anniversary party, a celebration I should have been part of. And now, as I stare at the photo of them smiling with Clara, a sickening realization washes over me. This was never about seating arrangements. They've been hiding something from me, and I'm starting to wonder if they ever really wanted me there at all. But I'll find out soon enough, because one way or another, I'm about to uncover the darkest secret of all. I just don't know yet if the truth will set me free or bury me forever. The call came through just as I was about to pour myself another glass of wine, the amber liquid swishing in my hand. The screen on my phone lit up with my mother's name. I hesitated before picking up. Ava, darling, her voice was syrupy sweet, but I could hear the undertone of something cold. I'm sorry, but we've decided to keep the anniversary dinner small this year. You know how it is, just immediate family, and the space is limited. My chest tightened, but I forced a laugh. It's fine, Mom. I'm really busy with work anyway. I could hear the relief in her voice, like she was just waiting for me to say that. Of course. You've always been so dedicated. We love you, sweetheart. Enjoy your evening. We'll catch up soon. The line went dead, and I felt the weight of the conversation linger. But when I opened social media a few minutes later, everything I'd told myself about not caring started to crack. There was a photo. My parents were at the restaurant, surrounded by friends, all smiling. The caption read, "Family only." We finally have everyone together. Everyone. Everyone except me. The rage hit me like a wave. I slammed the phone down, my heart pounding in my ears. My fingers hovered over the screen as I stared at the post for a moment longer. The words I typed were harsh, quick, and the truth that had been buried for years bubbled to the surface before I could stop myself. Congrats! Mortgage and taxes are all yours now. I hit send before I had time to regret it. 5 minutes later, the post was gone. The phone vibrated in my hand as 20 missed calls lit up the screen. I stared at the number of notifications blinking back at me, but I didn't answer. I wasn't ready for the conversation. What was there to say? My own family had decided I wasn't worth the seat at the table, not even a simple dinner on their milestone anniversary. I sat there, motionless. The wine glass now sat forgotten on the table as I gripped my phone, the glow lighting the room. It didn't matter that they'd thrown me away in silence for years. It didn't matter that they'd stopped calling when they didn't need my money. This moment felt different. Then, the next message came through, an unknown number. I hesitated before answering. Ava, the voice was low, clipped. A familiar voice, but one I hadn't expected to hear. You've crossed the line. We need to talk. The line went dead before I could respond. I stared at the phone. A cold shiver ran down my spine. Who had sent that message? And what did they mean by crossed the line? I leaned back against the couch, rubbing my temples. A knot in my stomach twisted tighter. There was something off about all of this. It wasn't just about the party. It was something bigger. I felt like I was missing a piece of the puzzle, a piece I hadn't been privy to. Before I could fully process the thought, the phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a text. It was an alert. A message from Dylan, the family lawyer. It read, "Ava, we need to meet. There's something important I have to tell you. It's about the estate." I froze. Estate. I hadn't heard from Dylan in weeks. The last time he contacted me, it was for routine paperwork. Now his tone felt off. Urgent. Something was happening. Something I wasn't prepared for. And it had everything to do with what was hidden beneath the surface of this so-called celebration. I wasn't just excluded from a family dinner. I was being shut out of something far more dangerous. The question wasn't whether they'd betrayed me. It was whether I was too late to stop it. I grabbed my jacket and keys, my thoughts a blur. My heart pounded as I stepped into the night air, the city lights reflecting the storm brewing inside me. As I drove through the empty streets, the weight of the evening pressed down harder. My own blood, my own family had been hiding something from me. But now I was going to find out what and who they'd been hiding it from. The drive to Dylan's office felt like it took hours, but by the time I pulled into the lot, the weight of the moment hit me like a ton of bricks. My stomach churned, and for the first time in years, I felt a bitter taste of doubt fill my mouth. I stepped out of the car, the sound of my heels clicking on the pavement, the only noise in the otherwise still night. The door to the office clicked open with a soft push. And as I stepped inside, I realized whatever this was, it wasn't just about money. I was walking into the beginning of something much bigger. The door slammed behind me. The sound echoed down the hallway, loud enough to drown out the whisper of the cold wind that had followed me inside. "Dylan," I said, but the words got stuck in my throat. I wasn't sure if I was ready for the truth, but it was coming, and I wasn't sure I could stop it. The phone rang again. This time it wasn't a message. I stared at the unknown number. The chill that had settled in my chest deepened. I had been in Hawaii for only a few hours, and already I could feel the walls closing in on me. My family's perfect facade was cracking. I had thought it was about a dinner, about me being excluded. But it was much bigger. This had nothing to do with an anniversary. This was about power, control, secrets. I answered, my voice tight. "Hello?" "Ava, it's Dylan." His voice sounded strained, like someone caught between obligations. "We need to meet. It's urgent." I pressed my lips together, the words I wanted to say dying in my throat. "What's going on? What's really happening with the estate?" Dylan hesitated, then muttered something barely audible. "It's bigger than you think." He paused again. "Meet me at the usual spot. The house." I hung up without another word. The usual spot was a nondescript office on the outskirts of Honolulu, where my family's financial matters had been handled in the shadows for years. The office was quiet when I arrived. Only the hum of fluorescent lights filled the space, and the stale smell of coffee lingered in the air. Dylan was already there, sitting behind the desk, his fingers tapping nervously on the table. His face was drawn, weary. "Ava, you need to listen to me." His voice was low, almost afraid. I stood in the doorway, my heart racing, every instinct screaming that I wasn't ready for whatever was about to come. "I'm listening. What's going on?" Dylan pushed a stack of papers toward me. "I don't know how to say this," he started, "but your father, he's in debt, and he's been using your name for everything. Mortgages, loans, hell, even signing off on things without your consent. It's all here." He gestured to the documents. I scanned the papers quickly. Loans, signature discrepancies, hidden transfers. But the most disturbing was a document dated only a few days ago, outlining the remortgaging of the family estate, signed under my name. My breath hitched. This isn't real, right? This has to be some kind of mistake. Dylan shook his head slowly, his eyes dark. I wish it were, but it's not. Your father's been moving money, big money around, and he's been doing it in your name, Ava. You're the one left holding the bag for all of this. I felt my knees go weak. How? How could he do this? The betrayal felt like a blow to the gut, harder than anything I had ever imagined. The room spun around me as I scanned through the documents again. Then I saw it, a small, handwritten note at the bottom of one of the forms. I squinted, reading it again. Clara, I whispered. Your sister, Dylan confirmed, leaning forward. She's involved in all of this. She's the one who made sure the deals went through. A wave of nausea hit me. My own sister? My mind raced. Clara was always the perfect one, the golden child. How could we be involved in something like this? I had to see her. I had to confront her. But deep down, I knew it wasn't going to be that simple. Clara wasn't just a bystander. She was a part of something bigger, something dangerous. I left the office in a daze, my thoughts scattered. My phone buzzed again, but I didn't answer. I couldn't. I was too afraid of what might come next. Instead, I went straight to the hotel, trying to steady my breath. As I sat in my room, trying to wrap my mind around everything Dylan had said, I heard a knock at the door. My heart skipped a beat. I wasn't expecting anyone. I crept to the door, peeking through the peephole. It was Clara. For a split second, my mind screamed at me to turn away, to pretend I hadn't seen her. But the anger, the confusion, the sheer need to confront her drowned everything else out. I opened the door. Clara stood there, her face painted with a practiced smile, the kind she had always worn whenever she needed something from me. Ava, can we talk? She said, her voice sugar-sweet, but with an edge that made my skin crawl. I folded my arms across my chest. What do you want, Clara? You've already done enough damage. Her smile faltered, but only for a moment. She stepped into the room, looking around nervously. I know you're upset, but I need you to understand this isn't what you think. Then what is it? I demanded, my voice rising. What's going on? Why are you and Dad using my name to hide everything? What are you hiding from me? Clara glanced around the room, her eyes darting, as though she were checking for something or someone. Her eyes finally met mine, and the calm facade cracked. It's not just about the money, Ava. There's more at play here. And you have to trust me when I say you don't want to know. I took a step forward, the tension in the room palpable. You're right, I don't want to know. But I'm going to find out, Clara. And when I do, you're not going to like it. She let out a sharp breath, stepping back. You don't understand. You never did. The door slammed behind her as she left, her words hanging in the air like a weight. I wasn't sure what had just happened. Was she trying to protect me, or was she lying to my face? I sat back down on the edge of the bed, my mind racing. There was more to this, something deeper, darker. Whatever this was, whatever my family had got mixed up in, it was about to explode. The phone rang again. I didn't check the caller ID. I knew who it was. It was Dylan. I didn't answer. But I should have, because when I finally got the courage to listen to the voicemail, the words chilled me to the core. Ava, they're watching you. You're not the only one being hunted. Get out of there. Now. I dropped the phone, my heart pounding as the realization hit. Someone was watching me, and I had no idea who it was or how close they were. I sat still for a long moment after Dylan's voicemail. The room felt too quiet, the kind of silence that presses down on you like a weight, the kind of silence that makes your thoughts louder, sharper, more dangerous. I glanced at my phone, still lit up with missed calls and messages from Clara, but I didn't touch it. Not yet. It was clear now they weren't just playing games anymore. My family wasn't just hiding from me. They were hiding from something much darker. The one question that kept pounding in my mind was, why me? A knock on the door jolted me out of my thoughts. My heart skipped. Not now. I couldn't deal with any more surprises. I stood up and walked cautiously to the door, my hand resting on the cold metal of the handle. The voice on the other side was unmistakable. Ava. Clara's voice was like honey, sweet but laced with something bitter, something I hadn't quite identified yet. We need to talk. It's not what you think. I didn't open the door. I couldn't. Not yet. The air around me felt charged, as if something was about to snap. I leaned back against the door, my breath shallow. Clara, this isn't the time. I know what's going on. Her voice softened, but there was no comfort in it. You don't. Not yet. She was right. I didn't. But I would. I had to. The question was, how far were they willing to go to keep me in the dark? I turned away from the door, walking back to the desk where Dylan's files lay open. I could feel my heart rate picking up again as I sifted through the papers. The handwriting in the margins, names I didn't recognize, numbers that didn't add up. Everything felt wrong. Every new detail revealed a piece of the puzzle, but not the full picture. The more I uncovered, the more dangerous it all seemed. Then my phone buzzed. It was a message from Dylan. I've learned something. Meet me at the warehouse. It's urgent. Every alarm in my head went off. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed my keys and left the hotel, barely noticing the way the night air felt heavier than usual. The city was alive with the buzz of nightlife, but the world felt too quiet around me. The streets didn't seem right. Too empty. Too perfect. I could feel eyes on me watching, waiting, but there was nothing. No one. The drive to the warehouse felt longer than it should have. Each red light, each corner I turned, the feeling that something was following me only grew. My fingers tightened on the steering wheel. I had no choice. I had to see Dylan get the truth. The whole truth. The warehouse was on the outskirts of town, a decaying building tucked behind a cluster of businesses. It was the last place anyone would expect to find a lawyer. Or so I hoped. I stepped out of the car, my heels clicking against the asphalt, echoing through the emptiness. The warehouse loomed ahead, dark and silent. Dylan's car was parked near the back. I moved quickly, the shadows swallowing me whole. The faint smell of oil and rust mixed with the chill in the air. My footsteps slowed as I approached the door. It was slightly ajar and I could hear movement inside. I pushed the door open just enough to slip inside. Dylan. My voice was a whisper, lost in the vastness of the room. Over here, he called out from the darkness. I walked toward the sound of his voice. When I reached him, the dim light revealed his face, twisted in concern. But something was off. His eyes were too wide, his breath too fast. There's no time, Dylan said, his voice cracking. They found out. I've made a mistake, Ava. I swallowed hard, fear sinking into my stomach. Who? What are you talking about? Your family. Your father, they're not just hiding money, Ava. They've been laundering it. Through accounts. Through you. They've been using you as a shield, and now they're coming for you. For both of us. I felt the world tilt. They've been using me, Dylan continued, his voice shaking. I was supposed to keep it quiet, to protect you from this, but it's too late. They know we've been talking. They know we're on to them. Who? I demanded, my voice rising. Who is they? But before Dylan could answer, the sound of footsteps echoed through the warehouse. Footsteps that didn't belong to either of us. I froze. Dylan, I whispered, my eyes locked on his, fear bubbling up. He looked at me, his face pale. It's them. It's too late. I spun around, my heart in my throat. The shadows were moving, slow, deliberate. And then, from the dark, a figure emerged. A man in a suit, a face I recognized. Marcus Webb, the man who had been lurking in the background of my family's business dealings. The man I thought I'd only ever hear about in rumors. He stepped closer, his eyes locking onto mine with cold intensity. Did you really think you could run, Ava? His voice was smooth, almost mocking. You've been caught in something much bigger than you can handle. I backed away, my mind racing. What do you want from me? Marcus chuckled. What do I want? Simple. Everything. His hand slid into his jacket pocket, pulling out a small device. It beeped once before he smiled. It's over. I suggest you cooperate or things get messy. My pulse hammered in my ears. Cooperate? Before I could react, Dylan lunged, but Marcus was faster. He pressed a button, and the lights in the warehouse flickered. For a moment, everything went dark. Then a crash. The air felt different, faster, colder. Dylan's voice cut through the silence. Run, Ava. Now. I didn't hesitate. My feet hit the ground hard as I bolted toward the exit. The sound of footsteps behind me, the heavy thuds of men chasing me, spurred me on. My breath was ragged, my mind blank. I pushed through the door, my eyes frantically searching for a way out. The parking lot was empty, and then in the distance I saw it, a car approaching fast. It was their car. I wasn't alone. They weren't done with me. I ran. The tires screeched, and the headlights blazed in my direction. My heart raced as the black SUV closed in on me. I wasn't going to escape this time. The car was coming too fast. Tires screeched as the black SUV tore down the street, its headlights cutting through the darkness like a predator closing in on its prey. I didn't hesitate. My legs moved before my brain could catch up, pushing me forward, my heart thundering in my chest. But I wasn't fast enough. The SUV slammed to a stop in front of me. My breath caught, my body frozen in place. The door swung open, and a tall figure stepped out. Marcus Webb. I couldn't move. Fear locked me in place as he advanced. His dark suit and steely expression cut through the air like a blade. I should have run, but my feet were stuck to the pavement. He stopped just in front of me, his eyes scanning mine with a cold calculation that sent a chill down my spine. You're not as clever as you think, Ava. I could barely form words. What? What do you want from me? Marcus smiled, but it wasn't comforting. It was a calculated grin, one that made it clear he knew more than I could ever guess. Everything. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small device. It beeped once before he held it up for me to see. My heart dropped. A tracker. I had been followed. All this time, every step, every move was under their watch. I swallowed hard, my mind racing. You've been watching me. You think we didn't know you'd start digging? His voice was smooth, almost mocking. Your family's been hiding behind lies for years, Ava, and you're about to find out how deep it all goes. This is bigger than your father, bigger than Clara. You're in the middle of something far more dangerous than you realize. The wind howled through the empty street, and I felt exposed. The danger wasn't just physical anymore. It was psychological. It was in the air, suffocating me. Marcus didn't move. I'll give you one chance, Ava. Come with me. You can be part of this. Or you can keep fighting, and we'll make sure you regret it. I took a step back, every instinct in me screaming to run, to fight. But something told me that running wouldn't get me far. I needed answers, and Marcus had them. I took a deep breath. Why? Why me? Because you're already in too deep, he said, stepping closer, his voice lowering. You're the missing piece, Ava. You were always meant to be the key to this whole thing. Your father wasn't as careful as he thought, and now you're caught in the web. You're not just his daughter. You're a part of his plan. I took another step back, confusion and anger roiling in my chest. What plan? What are you talking about? Marcus's eyes glinted. You'll see soon enough. Before I could react, he pressed a button on the device in his hand. The SUV's door opened again, and two men in dark suits emerged. They grabbed me before I could even react, their hands cold and firm as they pulled me toward the vehicle. I struggled, trying to break free. Let me go! I yelled, but the men were unrelenting. One of them pressed a gun to my side, and the world around me shifted. The cold barrel against my ribs sent a wave of terror through me. My body froze. The fight drained out of me. This wasn't just a game anymore. It was real, and I was in over my head. I was thrown into the back seat of the SUV, the doors slamming shut behind me. The engine roared to life, and the vehicle jerked forward, speeding through the dark streets of Honolulu. I pressed my back against the cold leather seat, my mind racing, trying to figure out how I'd gotten here. How did everything unravel so quickly? What do you want with me? I finally managed, my voice hoarse. Marcus sat across from me, his expression calm, almost detached. You'll find out soon enough. We need your help, Ava. Help, I repeated incredulously. You've been following me, lying to me, and you want me to help you. He didn't flinch. You're the one who stumbled into this. The moment you signed those papers, you became a part of the operation. Whether you like it or not, you're in this. But you can still be useful. Your father's mistakes have created a mess. We need someone with access to clean it up. Someone who can get us into the family's finances. The car turned sharply, and I slammed into the side of the door. My head spun, but the words kept tumbling in my mind. I was never meant to be a part of this. I was just the tool they used to cover up their mistakes. What's the real plan? Why the family? Why me? I demanded. Marcus's eyes flickered for a moment, and then he leaned forward. Because, Ava, your family's wealth is the last piece we need. Once we control it, we control everything. Your father thought he could hide behind legal papers, but that's not how this works. Everything your father built is a lie, a house of cards, and you're the final card. The truth hit me like a wave. This wasn't just about money. It was about power, control, and I had been living in the middle of it without even knowing. I clenched my fists. I'll never help you. He didn't flinch. Instead, his lips curved into a cold smile. I didn't think you would, but you'll come around. We'll make sure of that. The car sped up, the streets becoming more unfamiliar. I had no idea where we were going, but I knew it wasn't anywhere good. The SUV finally came to a halt in front of an old, run-down building on the edge of town. The windows were dark, the place abandoned, forgotten. I was roughly pulled out of the car and shoved inside. The air was thick with dust, and the smell of mildew hit my nostrils. As I was dragged through the building's corridors, I felt the weight of the moment settle on me. This was it, the point of no return. There was no going back. I was caught in the middle of something far bigger than I could ever imagine. And now, I was about to face the full weight of it. The door to the dimly lit room opened, and a shadowy figure stepped inside, his eyes gleaming with an all-too-familiar malice. "Welcome to the game, Ava," he said. I had never been so sure of anything in my life. The warehouse was still, eerily still. The shadows in the corners seemed to stretch longer with every passing second, as if they were reaching out for me. I could almost hear the low hum of the fluorescent lights above, but it was the silence that was the loudest thing in the room. The man who had spoken earlier, Marcus Webb, was no longer just a name from the whispers of my family's dealings. He was standing in front of me, his cold smile barely visible in the dim light, and his words were the hammer that sealed my fate. "You're not just a pawn, Ava," Marcus said, his voice low and purposeful. "You're the queen." A sudden rush of nausea hit me. The room spun, but I forced myself to stay upright, my fists clenched by my sides. Queen? The thought felt surreal, like an insult to everything I had ever believed about my family. I wasn't the queen. I was the fool. I shook my head, trying to push past the fog of confusion. "What do you want from me?" I finally managed, my voice hoarse. Marcus stepped closer, his presence looming over me. His eyes bore into mine, as if he could see every inch of the guilt I had buried deep inside. "Your father has made his deals, but it's you who holds the key to everything. You've always been the missing link, Ava. Your name, it's more valuable than you think." My heart hammered against my rib cage as the weight of his words settled into my chest. The missing link. It felt like the floor was falling away from me. I had spent my entire life believing that I was just a daughter, a sibling, caught in the shadow of my family's expectations. But now, it seemed like I had been tied to their lies in a way I couldn't even fathom. "What do you mean?" I asked, the words coming out too quietly. I wasn't sure if I wanted to hear the answer. "Your signature," Marcus continued, his tone almost affectionate. "It was never just for the mortgage. Your father used you as a cover, a shield. But the real deals, they all have one thing in common. You." My stomach turned. "You're lying." "Am I?" He chuckled darkly. "Your sister, Clara, she's in on it too. You didn't think she was just the perfect daughter, did you?" I froze. Clara, the perfect daughter, the golden child who had always been the darling of the family. I had always believed she was the one who had it all, who was always there for the family, who always seemed to have their best interests at heart. But now Marcus was telling me that Clara was a part of it all, a part of their deception. Before I could respond, the door behind us creaked open, and two men stepped into the room. One of them was Dylan. His face was pale, his eyes filled with something I couldn't place. Guilt? Fear? A combination of both. "Dylan," I whispered, my voice shaky. "What's going on? Why didn't you tell me?" He didn't meet my eyes. Instead, he glanced at Marcus and then back at me. "Ava, I'm sorry." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Sorry? I had trusted him. I had believed that he was the only person who was trying to help me. But now here he was, caught in this web of lies, right alongside my family. "Why didn't you tell me everything, Dylan?" I demanded, my voice rising with anger. "Why did you let me walk into this?" He swallowed, the guilt clear in his face. "I didn't have a choice. They had something on me, Ava. I didn't know who else to turn to. Marcus stepped forward, silencing the room with his presence. Enough. His eyes locked onto mine. You think you're the victim here, Ava. But the truth is, you've been a part of this from the very beginning. You can't escape it. I shook my head. The pieces were falling into place, but none of it made sense. How could I have been part of something so sinister? I hadn't even known what they were doing. I had trusted them. My family. My sister. Dylan. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw everything I had at them. But my body was frozen, trapped in the reality they had created for me. Suddenly, Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and smiled. It's done, he said, turning back to me. The final step is complete. Now it's your turn. I didn't know what he meant, but my body tensed in response. What final step? What was he going to do? The two men who had entered the room were moving toward me now. One grabbed my arms, forcing me to stand, while the other stepped behind me. Dylan's eyes flickered toward the door, and for a split second, I thought he might try to stop this. But he didn't. I'm sorry, Ava, he whispered. Then, in an instant, the door flew open again, and I heard shouting from outside. I couldn't process it fast enough. The two men holding me were knocked back, and someone I hadn't expected, came into the room. Clara. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with panic. Ava, get out of here. Now. Everything was happening too quickly. Clara ran toward me, shoving one of the men aside. Go, she urged, her voice breaking. But I couldn't move. I couldn't wrap my head around what was happening. Clara was part of this too. She was in on the plan. How could she be trying to help me now? Before I could speak, Clara grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the door. Get out, Ava! She screamed, desperation in her voice. We ran, the sound of footsteps following closely behind. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew this was my only chance to escape. We didn't make it far. The next thing I knew, I was pulled into the shadows, the world around me spinning. You think you can run, Ava? You don't get to run. Not anymore. Marcus's voice echoed through the darkness, and then everything went black. The cold, stale air of the warehouse pressed in on me, the silence broken only by the distant hum of machinery. My legs felt weak, but I refused to let them give out. I had come this far. I had to see this through. Clara was still holding on to me, her grip tight, her breathing quick and shallow. Her face was pale, but her eyes, for the first time in weeks, held a flicker of something real, something I hadn't seen before. Regret. Fear. I never wanted this for you, Ava, she whispered, her voice breaking. I pulled away from her, my heart pounding in my chest. You've been a part of this from the start, Clara. Don't tell me now that you regret it. She flinched, but then stood her ground. I didn't know how deep it went. I didn't know he was involved. Marcus. He's not just a businessman. He's the head of a syndicate, a criminal syndicate. And I didn't realize until it was too late that we were all just pawns. Pawns. The word hung in the air like smoke, thick and suffocating. Why didn't you tell me sooner? My voice cracked, the anger bubbling up again. Why didn't you warn me? Clara took a shaky breath. I thought I could stop it. I thought I could control it. But I couldn't. And when you started digging, I had no choice. He knew what we were doing. I had no way out. I didn't know whether to believe her. But then, as I looked into her eyes, I saw the truth, at least the truth as she saw it. We were both trapped in this. But that didn't mean I was going to forgive her. We didn't have time for more words. The sound of footsteps echoed from the shadows, and I turned instinctively toward the door. The cold, metallic clang of a gun being cocked sent a wave of dread through my body. Marcus! He stepped forward, his cold, calculating gaze fixed on us both. The air felt like it had thickened, and every muscle in my body tensed. You really think you can escape, Ava? You think this is something you can walk away from? His voice was sharp, cutting through the tension like a knife. Clara tried to step in front of me, but I pushed her aside. I'm not going anywhere, I said, my voice steady, even as my heart raced. Marcus smirked, stepping closer. You don't have a choice. It's already over. He gestured to the men standing behind him. I glanced around, trying to find a way out, but the walls of the warehouse seemed to close in, cutting off every escape. You're too late, Marcus continued, his smile spreading. You think you've been making moves, but all along, I've been playing you, Ava. Your family. They're mine now, and you'll never get them back. His words felt like a punch. My breath caught, and for a moment, I wondered if everything I had done, everything I had sacrificed was for nothing. I felt the weight of the lie he had built, the web he had woven around my family, around me. But then, something shifted inside me. I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. You're wrong, Marcus, I said, my voice low but steady. You're not the one in control here. I am. His eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? I took a step forward, refusing to show fear. You thought you could control me by threatening my family, by manipulating us into playing your game. But you missed one thing. You never understood who I really am. I reached into my pocket, my fingers brushing the small, cold device I had hidden there, the tracker. The one I had lifted from Marcus's bag when he wasn't looking. The one that would lead the police straight to his syndicate's hidden assets. Marcus's face twisted in disbelief. You. I cut him off. You've been tracking me. I've been tracking you. The only difference is, I have something you don't. I held up the tracker, a small, defiant smile forming on my lips. The police are already on their way. You've been playing a dangerous game, Marcus. And it's over. His face shifted. The cocky smirk faltered, and for a moment I saw real panic flicker in his eyes. The realization hit him like a wave. He wasn't in control anymore. I had taken the final move. Before he could react, the sound of sirens cut through the night air, growing louder by the second. The men around Marcus hesitated, glancing nervously toward the door. It was too late. I had won. But Marcus wasn't finished yet. He lunged at me, his hand grabbing my wrist, trying to wrench the tracker from my grasp. You think you've won, he hissed. You think you've beaten me? But I had already anticipated his move. With a swift motion, I kicked him hard in the stomach, sending him stumbling back. He crashed to the ground, his eyes wild with fury. Enough! I shouted, my heart pounding in my chest. I could hear the police approaching. The warehouse was about to be swarming with officers, and Marcus knew it. He was cornered. The door to the warehouse burst open, and the police stormed in. Officers rushed toward Marcus and his men, handcuffing them with practiced precision. I stood there, breathless, as the chaos unfolded in front of me. Clara stepped beside me, her eyes filled with a mixture of regret and relief. It's over, she whispered. It's finally over. I nodded, my chest tightening as I realized how much had changed in such a short time. My family, my life. The truth had come out, and I had survived it. But what had I really gained? I had exposed the lies. I had taken down the syndicate. But at what cost? Later that night, as I sat alone in my apartment, staring out at the city, I thought about what Marcus had said. You're the queen. It wasn't about control. It wasn't about power. It was about survival. I had been caught in a web of lies spun by those I trusted most, but I had fought my way out. I had chosen to take back my life. Maybe the real victory wasn't about winning against the people who had betrayed me. It was about reclaiming myself. Some battles are won simply by refusing to lose, I murmured to myself, remembering the words I had heard long ago. For the first time in years, I felt like I could finally breathe. I shut the door behind me and stepped into the night. The city was still alive, but this time I wasn't just surviving. I was living.